The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as representatives from 47 species gathered for an emergency session. Ambassador Zethkari of the Vorthon Empire adjusted his ceremonial robes, his four eyes scanning the assembled delegates. The holographic display at the center of the chamber showed a disturbing image, a small blue planet orbiting a yellow star in what the locals called the Sol system. "Esteemed colleagues," Zethkari began, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of diplomatic experience, "we face an unprecedented situation. The species known as humans from the third planet of this system have achieved faster-than-light travel." A collective shudder rippled through the chamber. The crystalline delegate from Epsilon Eridani chimed in with crystalline tones, "Surely this is a mistake. Our xenobiological surveys indicated they were still engaged in primitive warfare among themselves." High Counselor Marenthak, a towering figure from the peaceful Altarian collective, raised her elongated hand. "The problem is not their technological advancement. It is what our deep space reconnaissance has revealed about their nature." She gestured to the holographic display, which shifted to show footage captured by long-range surveillance drones. The images were horrifying to the assembled peaceful species. Humans engaged in something called hunting, actively pursuing other living creatures for sustenance. Unlike the council races who had evolved as herbivores, filter feeders, or energy absorbers, humans demonstrated the unmistakable characteristics of apex predators. "Notice their binocular vision," Marenthak continued, her voice trembling slightly. "Forward-facing eyes designed for tracking prey. Their dental structure shows both cutting and tearing capabilities, but most disturbing of all, the display zoomed in on human faces during what their databases identified as competitive sports." The alien delegates recoiled as they witnessed the intense focus, the calculated aggression, the pack coordination. These weren't the gentle, contemplative beings they were accustomed to encountering among the stars. These were hunters. Dr. Zylmoth, the chief xenobiologist from the Aquatic Confederation, projected his findings through bioluminescent patterns on his transparent skin. "My analysis confirms our worst fears. Humans evolved from persistence hunters. They would chase prey across vast distances until the target collapsed from exhaustion. Their entire physiology is designed for endurance predation." The chamber fell silent except for the various breathing apparatus and life support systems of the diverse species present. Finally, Ambassador Veltar from the insectoid hive clusters spoke up, his mandibles clicking nervously. "Perhaps we are overreacting. Many species have predatory origins but become peaceful through evolution and civilization. The Nexari were once aggressive hunters, and they now tend the most beautiful gardens in 3 sectors. Zethkari's expression darkened. "The Nexari hunt small creatures for nectar. Humans hunt creatures larger than themselves, sometimes in groups, sometimes alone. Our psychological profiles indicate they actually derive pleasure from the challenge of the hunt." The holographic display shifted again, showing human military formations. The aliens watched in fascination and horror, as humans demonstrated coordinated tactical maneuvers, their ability to adapt strategies mid-battle, and their willingness to sacrifice individual safety for group objectives. "They call it warfare," Marenthak explained. "But observe the precision, the planning, the technological innovations born from conflict. They have turned predation into an art form that spans from individual combat to massive group engagements involving millions of individuals." Counselor Frenti, representing the Merchant Confederation of the Outer Rim, nervously adjusted his trading beads. "What are you suggesting? That we attempt to contain an entire species? The Galactic Accords prohibit interference with developing civilizations. They are no longer developing," Zethkari replied grimly. 3 days ago, our monitoring stations detected their first faster-than-light vessel departing their system. It appears to be heading toward the Proxima Centauri system." The implications hit the chamber like a shockwave. Proxima Centauri was home to the gentle Catharians, a species of floating gas bag creatures who had never known violence of any kind. They were utterly defenseless, existing in a state of peaceful contemplation among their cloud cities. "We must warn them," several delegates called out simultaneously. Dr. Zelmoth's bioluminescent display pulsed urgently. "I have been analyzing human cultural transmissions. They have entertainment media dedicated to the concept of first contact with alien species. Disturbingly, in 73% of these scenarios, The initial response involves either conquest or conflict. But surely, interjected the crystalline delegate, beings capable of achieving interstellar travel must have evolved beyond primitive violence. Zethkari manipulated the holographic controls, displaying intercepted human communications from their space agencies. Their own transmissions suggest otherwise. They speak of manifest destiny and expanding human civilization. They view space not as a realm for peaceful coexistence, but as territory to be claimed. The chamber erupted in panicked discussions. Species representatives began calculating the distance between human space and their own homeworlds. Those closest to the Sol system spoke of immediate evacuation protocols. High Counselor Merenthak called for order. We cannot simply flee. The humans will spread throughout the galaxy if left unchecked. Their reproductive rate, combined with their adaptability and aggressive nature, could see them dominating entire sectors within a few generations. What do you propose? Asked Ambassador Veltar, though his tone suggested he dreaded the answer. We must consider options that have never before been necessary in our peaceful galaxy, Merenthak replied solemnly. We may need to take preemptive action to protect the countless innocent species who have never known the horror of predation. Dr. Zell. Moth's analysis continued streaming across his bioluminescent display. There is one more disturbing element to consider. Humans demonstrate remarkable pack loyalty. If we act against any human group, we must assume their entire species will respond with coordinated retaliation. The weight of this revelation settled over the chamber. The Galactic Council, accustomed to dealing with disputes over trading routes and resource allocation, now faced the prospect of their first interstellar war. Against a species that had spent its entire evolutionary history perfecting the art of conflict. As the session concluded, emergency committees formed to address immediate concerns. Long-range evacuation plans were drawn up for species in the humans' projected expansion path. Defense contractors, their services unused for millennia, suddenly found themselves overwhelmed with requests for weaponry and protective technologies. In the depths of space, the first human vessel continued its journey toward Proxima Centauri, its crew unaware that they had already been classified as the greatest threat the galaxy had ever known. Their simple mission of exploration and scientific discovery had inadvertently triggered the largest mobilization in galactic history. The age of peaceful coexistence among the stars was ending. The era of humanity had begun. Captain Sarah Chen floated in the observation deck of the UES Meridian, watching the alien star system grow larger through the reinforced viewport. 3 years into humanity's first interstellar journey, the crew of 200 had maintained their spirits through strict routines and shared purpose. They were explorers, scientists, and engineers, humanity's best and brightest sent to make contact with whatever lay beyond their solar system. Captain, came the voice of Dr. Marcus Webb over the intercom. You need to see this. Sarah pushed off from the viewing port and glided through the ship's corridors toward the communications array. The Meridian represented humanity's finest achievement, a generation ship designed for long-term exploration, equipped with everything needed to establish a permanent human presence wherever they chose to land. In the communications bay, Dr. Webb stood before a wall of screens showing spectral analyses and radio transmissions. His face bore an expression of confusion mixed with excitement. We're receiving structured signals from the fourth planet, he announced. Mathematical sequences, prime numbers, but then it gets strange. The signals contain complex harmonics that suggest, well, intelligence. Sarah studied the readouts. How complex are we talking? Beyond anything we expected for a first contact scenario. These aren't simple radio pulses. They're sophisticated multi-layered communications with embedded data streams. Whatever's down there has been at this for a very long time. Lieutenant Commander Torres, the ship's tactical officer, looked up from his console. Captain, I'm also detecting artificial structures in orbit around the planet. They appear to be some kind of habitat stations, but the design is unlike anything in our databases. Through the viewport, Sarah could now make out the fourth planet with the naked eye. It appeared to be covered in swirling clouds with an unusual greenish tint. The orbital structures Torres mentioned were barely visible as tiny glints of reflected starlight. Dr. Chen, called out Ensign Rodriguez from the linguistics station, the harmonic patterns in these signals. They're almost musical, like someone singing to us. Sarah felt a chill of anticipation. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries, but now that it was here, She realized how unprepared they were for the reality. Open a channel. Let's announce our presence. The communications array powered up, broadcasting a simple mathematical sequence followed by images of the solar system, Earth, and finally, humans themselves. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every screen in the communications bay lit up with incoming data. The aliens weren't just responding, they were flooding the meridian with information. Star charts, what appeared to be historical records, and most remarkably, biological data that seemed to be analyzing the humans themselves. Captain, Dr. Webb's voice carried a note of concern. They're sending us detailed scans of our ship. These readings show they've been monitoring us since we entered the system. They know our crew complement, our technological capabilities, even our biological makeup. The main screen flickered and resolved into an image that made everyone in the communications bay gasp. A creature floated before them, translucent, ethereal, with flowing appendages that moved like silk in water. Its communication came through as harmonious tones that the ship's computers translated into text. Welcome, travelers from the Yellow Star. We are the Cytherians of the Cloud Cities. We have watched your approach with great interest and some concern. Sarah stepped forward. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the United Earthship Meridian. We come in peace, seeking to establish friendly relations with other intelligent species. The alien's image shimmered slightly. We understand your words, but your vessel concerns us. Why do you travel in such a heavily reinforced craft? Why do you carry materials suitable for weapons construction? Dr. Webb glanced at the captain. The Meridian was indeed built for durability, designed to survive the hazards of interstellar space. Its hull plating and defensive systems were standard for any long-range vessel. Our ship is built for exploration, Sarah replied carefully. The materials you detect are for protection against cosmic radiation and space debris during our long journey. We see, the Cytherian responded, though its tone suggested skepticism. We have analyzed your transmissions from your home system. Your species appears to have an unusual relationship with conflict. The awkward pause that followed was filled only by the hum of the ship's systems. Sarah realized they were walking into cultural misunderstandings she had never anticipated. We do have conflicts in our history, she admitted, but we've come here to learn and explore, not to fight. The alien's form pulsed with different colors. Your biological structure is fascinating to us. Forward-facing eyes, carnivorous dental configuration, highly developed motor cortex regions associated with pursuit behaviors. You are clearly evolved predators. Lieutenant Commander Torres shifted uncomfortably. Captain, should I be concerned about the directness of their biological assessment? Before Sarah could respond, the Cytherian continued. We must inform you that your arrival has already been reported to the Galactic Council. They are concerned about species with your particular evolutionary background. Galactic Council? Sarah felt the weight of realization settling over her. They weren't just making first contact with one species, they had stumbled into an entire galactic civilization. Indeed, 47 species currently participate in peaceful cooperation across this spiral arm. However, none of them share your predatory heritage. Dr. Webb leaned toward his console. Captain, I'm detecting multiple new energy signatures appearing throughout the system. Whatever this Galactic Council is, they're mobilizing something big. The Cytherian's image flickered, and when it stabilized, the creature appeared agitated. I must warn you. Evacuation protocols have been activated for our civilian population. The Council fears that your species represents an existential threat to galactic peace. Sarah felt her heart racing. We're explorers, not conquerors. Surely they understand that. They understand that every peaceful species in the galaxy evolved from herbivorous or filter-feeding origins. You evolved from pack hunters. Your own cultural transmissions show that you romanticize warfare and competition in ways that terrify other species. The tactical board suddenly lit up with new contacts. Torres's voice was tense. Captain, I'm reading 17. No, 23 new vessels entering the system. They're taking up positions that look suspiciously like a blockade formation. The Cytherian's message continued. The Council's xenobiologists have concluded that predatory species cannot coexist peacefully with prey species. They believe intervention is necessary before you can establish colonies or contact other worlds. Sarah looked around the communications bay at her crew. These were scientists, engineers, and explorers, people who had volunteered for a peaceful mission of discovery. Yet somehow their very nature as humans had branded them as a galactic threat. "What kind of intervention?" she asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. The alien's form grew dimmer. "I am sorry, Captain Chen. The Council has voted to contain your species within your home system. They are dispatching a fleet to establish a permanent quarantine around your star." The implications hit everyone simultaneously. Not only was the Meridian trapped, but Earth itself was about to be isolated from the rest of the galaxy. Humanity's first contact had become their first interstellar incident. "How long do we have?" Torres asked quietly. The Cytherian's image began to fade. "The containment fleet will arrive at your home system in approximately 18 of your months. I must cease communication now. The Council considers continued contact with your species to be too dangerous." The screen went dark, leaving the crew of the Meridian alone with the weight of their discovery. They had found the galaxy teeming with life, only to learn that their place in it had already been determined. They were the predators in a universe of prey, and the prey had decided to act first. Sarah stared out at the alien stars, knowing that somewhere out there, 47 civilizations were preparing for war against a species that had only wanted to explore. Admiral Rachel Foster stood in the Situation Room deep beneath NORAD, staring at the holographic display showing Earth's orbital defense grid. 6 months had passed since the Meridian's last transmission, and humanity had used every minute to prepare for what seemed inevitable. The message was clear. An alien armada was coming to cage humanity in their own solar system. "Status report," Foster commanded as her staff assembled around the strategic table. Colonel Martinez, head of the newly formed Interstellar Defense Division, activated the display. "We've completed construction of the orbital weapons platforms. 16 stations positioned at key points around Earth and Mars, each equipped with our most advanced railguns and nuclear missiles." General Thompson from the Space Force added, "The lunar mass drivers are operational. We can launch kinetic projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. Our asteroid mining operations have been converted to provide ammunition." Dr. Elizabeth Vasquez, the chief scientist of the extraterrestrial response team, looked troubled. "Admiral, our analysis of the alien communications suggests we're dealing with technologies far beyond our current capabilities. Their casual monitoring of the Meridian from interstellar distances indicates sensor technology we can't even theorize about." Foster nodded grimly. "What about the Meridian herself? Any word from Captain Chen?" "Nothing for 2 months," Colonel Martinez replied. Their last transmission indicated they were being escorted to what the aliens called a neutral observation station. "We have to assume they're prisoners." The Admiral studied the orbital display, watching the tiny blips representing humanity's hastily constructed defenses. Earth had been transformed into a fortress world in just 18 months, but she couldn't shake the feeling that they were preparing to fight a battle they didn't understand. "What's our intelligence assessment of enemy capabilities?" she asked. Dr. Vasquez brought up a new display showing spectral analyses and energy readings. "Based on the signatures we detected in the Proxima system, they're using some form of controlled space-time manipulation for propulsion. Their energy output suggests they can tap power sources we haven't identified. Most concerning is their apparent ability to coordinate across interstellar distances in real time. Numbers? Unknown." Captain Chen reported 23 vessels in the Proxima system, but that was just one system's worth. "If 47 species are contributing to this containment fleet..." Dr. Vasquez shrugged helplessly. General Thompson pulled up another display. "We've been working on that assumption. Worst-case scenario, we're looking at several hundred vessels with unknown capabilities approaching our system." The room fell silent as everyone contemplated the odds. Humanity had spent its entire spacefaring history learning to work together, but they had never faced an external threat of this magnitude. "Admiral," came a voice from the communication station, "we're receiving a transmission from deep space. It's Captain Chen." The main screen flickered to life, showing Sarah Chen in what appeared to be a comfortable but clearly alien environment. Behind her, the flowing forms of Cytherians could be seen moving through what looked like a vast underwater habitat. "Admiral Foster, this is Captain Chen, reporting from the Cytherian Neutral Station. I need to brief you on what we've learned about the situation." Foster leaned forward. "Captain, are you speaking freely?" "As freely as possible under the circumstances." "Admiral, the situation is more complex than we initially understood. The Galactic Council isn't just afraid of us. They're terrified. Their entire civilization is built on the premise that intelligent species naturally evolve toward pacifism. Dr. Vasquez stepped into view of the camera. Sarah, what can you tell us about their technology? Chen's expression grew serious. Liz, they're not warriors. None of them are. Their technology is incredibly advanced, but it's all designed for peaceful purposes. Their weapons, what few they have, are basically overpowered mining tools and asteroid deflection systems. That doesn't sound so bad, General Thompson muttered. It's worse than you think, Chen continued. They've never fought a war, not one. For over 50,000 years, galactic civilization has existed without conflict between species. They literally don't know how to fight. Admiral Foster felt a chill. Captain, are you saying what I think you're saying? Their containment fleet is massive. Over 300 vessels from different species. But Admiral, they're planning to win through overwhelming force and technological superiority, not tactics. They're going to surround our system and demand surrender. Colonel Martinez studied the transmission data. What happens if we don't surrender? Chen's pause was telling. They've never had to consider that option. In their experience, when faced with overwhelming force, intelligent species negotiate. But we're predators, Dr. Vasquez said quietly. Exactly. And predators don't surrender when cornered. We adapt, we fight, we find ways to win against impossible odds. It's what we've always done. Admiral Foster began to see the shape of what was coming. Captain, how long until the fleet arrives? 6 weeks, Admiral. But there's something else. I've been speaking with the Cytherians here. They're not all in agreement with the Council's decision. Some of them believe that humanity might be the key to solving a problem the galaxy has been ignoring. What kind of problem? Chen's image flickered slightly. There are rumors of something called the Devourers, an ancient threat from outside the galaxy that the Council refuses to acknowledge. Some species believe that a predatory civilization might be exactly what they need to face that threat. General Thompson frowned. Sounds like they want to use us as attack dogs. Maybe. But it also means we might have potential allies. The problem is identifying them before the containment fleet arrives. Admiral Foster stood up, her mind already working through tactical possibilities. Captain, can you identify any specific technologies or weaknesses we should know about? Their ships are beautiful, Admiral. Elegant, efficient, designed by species that think in terms of harmony and cooperation. But they have virtually no armor, minimal redundancy, and their weapon systems are designed for precision rather than destruction. And their crews? Chen's expression grew almost sympathetic. Most of them have never seen violence, Admiral. The concept of deliberately causing harm to another intelligent being is alien to them. They're coming here expecting us to be reasonable. The implication hung in the air. Humanity was about to face an enemy that was technologically superior, but psychologically unprepared for the reality of human warfare. Admiral, Chen continued, there's one more thing. The Cytherians have been monitoring Earth's preparations. They're fascinated by how quickly we've militarized our entire system. They say it's the fastest transformation from peaceful civilization to war footing they've ever witnessed. Dr. Vasquez shook her head. Because we're not a peaceful civilization. We're a predatory species that learned to cooperate. Foster looked around the room at her staff. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems we're about to give the galaxy a lesson in human nature. Colonel Martinez, I want every defensive position reinforced. General Thompson, prepare the fleet for asymmetric warfare, hit and run, ambush tactics. Everything they won't expect. Admiral, Chen's voice carried a note of warning. Remember that the Meridian is still here. Any action you take will affect my crew as well. Understood, Captain. We'll get you home. As the transmission ended, Admiral Foster stared at the display showing Earth's defenses. In 6 weeks, humanity would face its first interstellar war, against an enemy that had never fought, using technology they barely understood, defending their right to exist among the stars. But humanity had one advantage the aliens couldn't comprehend. They were about to discover that cornering a predator species was the worst tactical mistake possible. The Galactic Containment Fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system in perfect formation. 317 vessels from 47 different species arranged themselves in a geometric pattern that would have been beautiful if not for its deadly purpose. Admiral Zethkari stood on the bridge of the flagship Harmony's Voice, watching the tactical displays with growing confidence. All vessels report ready status, announced his aide. A crystalline being whose body chimed softly with each communication. Long-range sensors indicate the humans have constructed defensive installations throughout their system. Zethkari nodded, his 4 eyes studying the scan results. Primitive but extensive. They've managed to militarize their entire solar system in less than 2 years. Remarkable adaptation speed for such a young species. The fleet's xenobiologist, Dr. Maranthak, floated beside the command station in her environmental suit. Admiral, the psychological profile suggests they will not surrender immediately. Human behavior patterns indicate they will likely test our resolve first. Then we will demonstrate the futility of resistance, Zethkari replied calmly. Begin the approach. Standard containment formation. Surround their primary worlds and establish the quarantine perimeter. The massive fleet began its stately advance toward the inner system. Each vessel was a work of art, designed by species that valued harmony and efficiency above all else. Their hulls curved gracefully, their propulsion systems hummed in perfect resonance, and their combined presence radiated the peaceful authority of galactic civilization. On Earth, Admiral Foster watched the alien fleet's approach from the command center. The holographic display showed the enemy formation in stark detail, a 3-dimensional net designed to enclose the entire inner solar system. "My God," whispered Colonel Martinez. "They're not even trying to hide their intentions. It's like they want us to see exactly what they're doing." General Thompson studied the fleet composition. No screening elements, no advanced scouts, no combat air patrol. They're moving like they're on parade. Dr. Vasquez highlighted specific vessels on the display. "Look at these energy signatures. Those ships are beautiful, but they're not designed for combat. The power distribution is all wrong for military vessels." Foster nodded. "They're exactly what Captain Chen described. Advanced technology operated by beings who have never fought a war." She turned to her communications officer. "Patch me through to all defense stations and ships." The command channel opened, connecting Foster to every human military asset in the solar system. "This is Admiral Foster. The alien fleet has arrived and they're approaching exactly as we predicted. Remember your training. These beings have superior technology but no combat experience. Use that against them." In the asteroid belt, Commander Sarah Kim floated in the command capsule of the stealth ship Predator's Gambit. Around her, 24 similar vessels waited in the shadows of carefully selected asteroids. The humans had learned much from studying the alien communications. Their sensors were incredibly sophisticated but calibrated for detecting active technology, not passive stealth. "Contact bearing 27 Mark 9, reported her sensor operator. "Lead elements of the alien fleet moving in standard formation." Kim studied the approaching vessels. They were magnificent, flowing organic curves that seemed to dance through space rather than simply travel through it. Their hulls glowed with soft, bioluminescent patterns that probably had cultural significance she would never understand. "Target the largest vessel in the formation," she ordered. "Prepare kinetic penetrators for launch." The Predator's Gambit and her sister ships represented humanity's answer to technological inferiority. They were essentially large railguns with minimal life support, designed to fire solid metal projectiles at significant fractions of light speed. No exotic technology, no complex targeting systems, just basic physics applied with predatory precision. Meanwhile, Zethkari continued his measured advance, confident in the overwhelming superiority of his force. "Communications, open a channel to the human homeworld. It is time to begin negotiations." The transmission reached Earth within minutes. Foster found herself facing the imposing figure of an alien admiral whose ceremonial bearing suggested someone accustomed to respect and immediate compliance. "I am Admiral Zethkari, of the Galactic Containment Fleet," the alien announced. "Humans of Earth, you are hereby ordered to cease all interstellar activities and submit to quarantine within your home system. Compliance will ensure your continued existence as a species." Foster smiled coldly. "Admiral Zethkari, this is Admiral Rachel Foster of the United Earth Defense Force. You are ordered to leave this system immediately. We do not recognize your authority over human space." The alien's expression suggested he had never heard such a response. "Admiral Foster, you appear to misunderstand the situation. Our fleet consists of over 300 vessels with technology centuries beyond your capabilities. Resistance is both futile and irrational." "Is it?" Foster replied. "Tell me, Admiral, how many wars has your species fought?" Wars? Zethkari seemed puzzled by the question. Civilized species do not engage in warfare. We resolve disputes through rational negotiation. Then you have no idea what you're dealing with, Foster said, and cut the transmission. In space, Commander Kim watched as the alien formation continued its stately approach. The lead vessels were now within optimal range for her kinetic weapons. She opened the tactical channel to all stealth units. All Predator units. This is Gambit 1. Target the lead vessels and prepare to fire on my mark. The alien fleet continued forward. Their sensors focused on the obvious defensive installations around Earth and Mars. They had detected the orbital platforms, the lunar installations, even the fusion plants that powered humanity's hasty militarization. What they had not detected were the 24 stealth ships positioned throughout the asteroid belt. "Mark," Kim commanded. 24 railguns fired simultaneously, launching solid tungsten rods accelerated to 12% of light speed. The projectiles crossed the intervening space in seconds, their targets having no time to react to weapons they couldn't detect until impact. The lead vessel in the alien formation, a graceful ship from the Altarian Collective, simply disintegrated. The kinetic energy released by the tungsten penetrator overwhelmed its elegant hull design, creating a brief star where the ship had been. Around it, 3 more vessels suffered catastrophic damage as secondary projectiles found their marks. On the flagship, alarms began sounding for the first time in Zethkari's long career. "Report," he commanded. "4 vessels destroyed, Admiral." His aide chimed in harmonics that suggested panic. "'Cause unknown. No weapons discharge detected from the human defensive positions." Dr. Maranthak's environmental suit allowed her to project her shock through bioluminescent displays. "Admiral, this is impossible. They attacked without warning, without attempting to minimize casualties. They simply destroyed entire crews." Zethkari stared at the tactical display, trying to comprehend what had just happened. In 50,000 years of galactic civilization, no species had ever opened fire without first exhausting all diplomatic options. The humans had killed over 2,000 beings without even issuing a formal challenge. "Communications. Contact Admiral Foster immediately," he ordered. Foster's image appeared on the main screen, her expression calm and professional. "Yes, Admiral." "You just murdered 4 ship crews without provocation," Zethkari accused. "No, Admiral. I just demonstrated that your formation is vulnerable to weapons you can't detect. This is your opportunity to withdraw before more of your people die." "Withdraw?" Zethkari's voice carried a note of disbelief. "Admiral, we represent the authority of 47 civilized species. We cannot simply withdraw because you resort to violence." Foster's smile was predatory. "Admiral, you came here to cage an entire species without their consent. You opened hostilities the moment you entered our system with a military fleet. What happens next is entirely up to you." The channel closed, leaving Zethkari staring at a tactical situation no galactic military academy had ever prepared him for. He was facing an enemy that struck without warning, felt no obligation to minimize casualties, and treated violence as a first resort rather than a last one. For the first time in galactic history, a peaceful species was about to learn what it meant to fight a predator. Admiral Zethkari stood frozen on his bridge as casualty reports flooded in from across the fleet. The humans had struck again, and again, each attack coming from a different vector with weapons his sensors couldn't track until the moment of impact. In the span of 6 hours, humanity had destroyed 18 vessels and damaged 30 more. "Admiral." His aide's crystalline voice trembled with harmonics of fear. "The Nexari delegation is requesting permission to withdraw from the containment operation." "Denied," Zethkari replied, though his own confidence was shaking. "We cannot allow one species to dictate terms to the entire galaxy." Dr. Maranthak floated closer to the command station, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with agitation. "Admiral, perhaps we should reconsider our approach. The humans are demonstrating tactical capabilities none of our simulations predicted." On the tactical display, another blip vanished as a crystalline research vessel fell victim to a human ambush. The elegant ship had been attempting to analyze the composition of Earth's moon, when tungsten projectiles fired from hidden positions simply erased it from existence. "How are they doing this?" Zethkari demanded. "Our sensors show no active weapons platforms in those locations." His tactical officer, a multi-limbed being from the Epsilon Collective, manipulated the holographic display with nervous precision. "Admiral, I believe they are using passive weapons, unpowered projectiles launched from concealed positions. Our sensors are calibrated to detect energy signatures, not inert objects moving at high velocity." The implications were staggering. The Galactic Fleet's sophisticated sensor arrays, designed to monitor peaceful civilian traffic across vast distances, were nearly useless against weapons that generated no energy signature until the moment of impact. Furthermore, the tactical officer continued, their attack patterns suggest a level of coordination that should be impossible without real-time communication across the system. Yet we detect no communication signals between their units. Dr. Maranthak's pattern shifted to deep blue, indicating profound confusion. Perhaps they pre-planned their attacks? "No," came a new voice from the communication station. "They're adapting in real time to our movements." Everyone turned to see Captain Sarah Chen's image appearing on the auxiliary screen. She was speaking from the Cytherian observation station, her expression grave. "Admiral Zethkari," Chen said, "I've been monitoring your fleet's communications. You need to understand what you're facing." Zethkari's four eyes focused on the human captain. "Explain." "Your species evolved as prey animals. Every species in your fleet did. You think in terms of avoiding conflict, finding safe solutions, minimizing casualties. Humans evolved as pack hunters. We think in terms of eliminating threats completely." The bridge fell silent except for the hum of alien technology and the occasional chime of incoming damage reports. Chen continued, "Your ships are designed by peaceful minds for peaceful purposes. Ours are designed by predators who have spent millennia perfecting the art of killing efficiently. You're not just technologically outmatched, you're psychologically unprepared for this kind of warfare." "Impossible," Zethkari protested. "We have overwhelming numerical and technological superiority." "Do you?" Chen's image leaned forward. "Admiral, how many of your vessels have you lost to direct engagement with human ships?" The question hung in the air. Zethkari realized with growing horror that despite 6 hours of combat, not a single human vessel had been destroyed. The humans were fighting like ghosts, striking from impossible positions and vanishing before retaliation was possible. "Your fleet is designed for intimidation through overwhelming presence," Chen explained. "Human tactics are designed for maximum lethality with minimum exposure. We call it asymmetric warfare, and we've been perfecting it for thousands of years." Dr. Maranthak's bioluminescent display pulsed frantically. "Captain Chen, surely your species values life. Surely there must be some way to resolve this without further violence." Chen's expression softened slightly. "Doctor, humans do value life, but we value freedom more. You came here to imprison an entire species without trial, without negotiation. From our perspective, you fired the first shot." Zethkari studied the tactical display, watching his carefully ordered formation dissolve into chaos as captains began taking evasive action. "What do you propose, Captain?" "I propose you leave. Now, before Admiral Foster decides you represent an existential threat." "And if we refuse?" Chen's pause was telling. "Admiral, you've been fighting for 6 hours and you've managed to damage exactly 0 human assets. We've destroyed or crippled nearly 50 of your vessels. How long do you think this can continue before your alliance starts falling apart?" As if summoned by her words, another communication channel opened. The image of a Nexari commander appeared, his flowering head petals wilted with fear. "Admiral Zethkari, the Nexari contingent formally requests immediate withdrawal from this operation. We cannot continue to lose ships and crews to an enemy we cannot effectively engage." Before Zethkari could respond, similar communications began flooding in from across the fleet. The crystalline vessels were reporting structural damage that their repair capabilities couldn't address. The aquatic Confederation ships were requesting emergency life support assistance. The elegant formations that had entered the system were dissolving into individual groups of terrified survivors. "You see?" Chen said quietly. "This is what happens when prey animals try to fight predators. You're not just losing ships. You're losing the will to fight. Your crews signed up for a peacekeeping mission, not a war." Zethkari looked around his bridge at his own crew. The fear in their alien features was unmistakable. None of them had ever experienced violence on this scale, and their psychological conditioning for peaceful resolution was crumbling under the reality of human warfare. "Captain Chen, he said finally. What assurance do we have that humanity will not use this victory to launch aggressive expansion throughout the galaxy? You don't, Chen replied bluntly. Just like we had no assurance that you wouldn't simply exterminate us if we surrendered. The difference is, we're willing to let you leave alive to report back to your council. Another vessel died on the tactical display. This one a beautiful Altarian science ship that had been attempting to retreat when tungsten rounds punctured its delicate hull. The psychological impact on the fleet was immediate and devastating. Admiral, his aide chimed desperately, we're receiving withdrawal requests from 37 vessel groups. The formation is collapsing. Zethkari closed his four eyes, feeling the weight of 47 species expectations crushing down on him. He had come here to demonstrate galactic authority and instead had revealed galactic vulnerability. Open a channel to Admiral Foster, he commanded. Foster's image appeared, her expression as calm and professional as ever. Behind her, Zethkari could see human officers coordinating what appeared to be additional attacks. Admiral Foster, he began, the Galactic Fleet is prepared to withdraw from this system. Unconditionally? Foster asked. We require assurance that humanity will not pursue fleeing vessels or launch retaliatory strikes against our homeworlds. Foster smiled. And Zethkari realized he was seeing the expression of a successful predator. Admiral, humans don't attack those who leave us alone. We only fight when cornered or threatened. Withdraw your fleet, report to your council that humanity is not to be disturbed and will have no further conflict. And if the council decides to attempt containment again? Foster's smile became predatory. Admiral, in the last 6 hours, you've given us detailed scans of 47 different species military technology. We now know your capabilities, your weaknesses, and your tactics. Any future containment attempts will be significantly more costly. The threat was clear and delivered, with the casual confidence of a species that had just proven its superiority in the most fundamental way possible. Begin fleet withdrawal. Zethkari ordered his communications officer. All vessels retreat to minimum safe distance and prepare for hyperspace jump. As the massive alien fleet began its humiliating withdrawal, Captain Chen's image remained on the screen. Admiral Zethkari, she said quietly, for what it's worth, I'm sorry it came to this. But maybe now the galaxy will understand that humanity isn't looking for war. We're just not afraid of it. The transmission ended, leaving Zethkari to contemplate the most significant military defeat in galactic history. The humans had not just won a battle, they had shattered the fundamental assumptions that galactic civilization was built upon. Somewhere in the depths of space, the first human victory was already being analyzed by species who were beginning to realize that the galaxy had just become a much more dangerous place. The Galactic Council chamber had never seen such chaos. Representatives from 47 species shouted, chimed, clicked, and harmonized in their various forms of communication, creating a cacophony that the translation systems struggled to process. Emergency sessions had been called, accusations flew between delegations, and for the first time in 50,000 years, the very foundation of galactic civilization was being questioned. High Counselor Marenthak struggled to maintain order as Admiral Zethkari delivered his report. The holographic display showed the devastating results of the Sol system engagement. 63 vessels destroyed or severely damaged, over 8,000 casualties, and not a single confirmed human loss. The tactical analysis is clear, Zethkari concluded, his four eyes dim with exhaustion. Humanity possesses an intuitive understanding of warfare that our species cannot match. They think, plan, and execute military operations in ways that are fundamentally alien to our psychological makeup. Ambassador Veltar from the insectoid hive clusters clicked his mandibles nervously. Admiral, surely you exaggerate. No single species could be so dominant in combat. I do not exaggerate, Zethkari replied grimly. We have fought against predators, Counselor. True predators. Every tactical doctrine in our databases proved useless against an enemy that views conflict as an opportunity rather than a tragedy. The crystalline delegate from Epsilon Eridani chimed in with frequencies that suggested deep concern. What of our technological advantages? Our vessels are centuries more advanced than anything the humans possess. Dr. Zilmoth, the Aquatic Confederation xenobiologist, projected his analysis through bioluminescent patterns. Technology means nothing if it's not designed for warfare. Our ships are works of art built by peaceful minds for peaceful purposes. Human vessels are crude but effective, designed solely to kill and survive. Counselor Frenti from the Outer Rim Merchant Confederation nervously adjusted his trading beads. What are you saying? That we simply accept defeat and allow these predators to expand throughout the galaxy? We may have no choice, came an unexpected voice from the chamber's upper levels. All eyes turned to see Elder Yithnara of the Ancient Observers. Being so old and advanced, they rarely participated in council proceedings. The ethereal figure descended slowly, its form barely maintaining cohesion in the chamber's atmosphere. Elder, Maranthak said respectfully, the Ancient Observers have maintained neutrality for millennia. Why do you speak now? Yithnara's voice carried the weight of eons. Because the time of change has arrived, as we always knew it would. The humans are not an anomaly, and they are an inevitability. The chamber fell silent, the gravity of the Elder's words sinking in. Explain, demanded Zethkari. Yithnara's form shimmered as it accessed memories spanning geological ages. In our observations of galactic evolution, we have identified a pattern. Peaceful civilizations rise, flourish, and eventually stagnate. They become comfortable, complacent, and ultimately vulnerable to forces they cannot comprehend. The holographic display shifted, showing a timeline of galactic history spanning millions of years. Every galactic civilization eventually faces a test, Yithnara continued. Sometimes it comes from within, civil war, resource depletion, or social collapse. Sometimes it comes from without, hostile forces from neighboring galaxies or dimensions beyond our understanding. Dr. Zilmoth's bioluminescence pulsed with realization. The Devourers. You're speaking of the Devourers, aren't you? A collective shudder ran through the chamber. The Devourers were a myth, a legend whispered about in the oldest texts. Entities from the dark space between galaxies that allegedly consumed entire civilizations. Not a myth, Yithnara confirmed. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected their approach. They are perhaps 500 years from our galaxy's edge, but they are coming, and when they arrive, they will face a prey species galaxy filled with beautiful ships, peaceful minds, and absolutely no understanding of how to fight for survival. Admiral Zethkari felt his blood chill. You're saying the humans arrived just in time to save us from something worse?
I am saying, Yithnara replied, that evolution has provided this galaxy with exactly what it needs, exactly when it needs it.
Humanity represents something we thought had been bred out of intelligent species, the capacity for controlled violence in service of survival. Counselor Veltar's mandibles clicked frantically. But they're predators. They attacked us without provocation. They defended themselves, corrected Elder Yithnara. You brought a military fleet to their homeworld and demanded their surrender. From their perspective, you were the aggressors. The chamber erupted again as delegates processed this new perspective. Several species began arguing for immediate diplomatic overtures to humanity, while others demanded stronger containment measures. There is more, Yithnara continued, silencing the debate. Our analysis of human psychology suggests they are not merely predators. They are pack predators with strong tribal loyalty instincts. They will fight viciously against enemies, but they also form powerful alliances with those they consider part of their pack. Maranthak leaned forward. You believe they could be reasoned with? I believe they could be recruited, Yithnara replied, but not through intimidation or force. Humans respond to respect, mutual benefit, and clear threats that require their unique capabilities. On the far side of the chamber, a previously silent figure stirred. Ambassador Seth Mirren of the Cytherian Cloud Cities activated her communication apparatus for the first time in the proceedings. The Ancient Observer speaks truly, she said, her harmonious tones carrying clearly through the chamber. I have spent time with the human Captain Chen. She is violent by our standards, yes, but she is also honorable, curious, and protective of those she considers allies. What do you propose? Asked Zethkari. Seth Mirren's form pulsed with gentle light. I propose we do what we should have done from the beginning. We invite them to join us, not as subordinates to be contained, but as equals with something valuable to contribute. And if they refuse? Demanded Frenti. Elder Yithnara's ancient voice carried a note of certainty. They will not refuse. Humans are inherently curious and social. They want to explore, to learn, to find their place among the stars. We offered them a cage. Instead, we should offer them a partnership. The debate that followed lasted for days. Traditional factions argued for maintaining the containment policy, while progressives pushed for immediate diplomatic engagement. The military representatives wanted to study human tactics to prepare defenses against the theoretical devourer threat, while the peaceful majority simply wanted the problem to disappear. Finally, a compromise was reached. A small diplomatic mission would return to the Sol system, led by Ambassador Kethmiran and accompanied by Elder Ithnara. They would offer humanity something unprecedented in galactic history: full membership in the Galactic Council, with no restrictions on their expansion or military development. In exchange, humanity would be asked to share their military expertise and serve as the galaxy's shield against external threats. As the vote was tallied and the mission approved, Admiral Zethkari found himself wondering if they were making the right choice. They were about to offer partnership to a species that had humiliated the combined might of 47 civilizations. But as he watched the tactical recordings of human combat effectiveness, he realized that Elder Ithnara was right. When the Devourers came, the galaxy would need predators to fight them. And humanity had just proven they were the most effective predators the galaxy had ever seen. The age of prey was ending. The age of the human pack was about to begin. Admiral Rachel Foster stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Sol station, watching as the most unusual diplomatic convoy in galactic history approached Earth. 3 ships moved in careful formation, 2 elegant alien vessels flanking a modified human destroyer that served as neutral meeting ground. After 6 months of tense negotiations, first contact was finally being conducted on human terms. Admiral, Captain Chen's voice came through the communication system. The Cytherian ambassador and the ancient observer have arrived. They're requesting permission to come aboard. Foster smiled, still amazed at how quickly things had changed. Sarah Chen had returned as humanity's first interstellar diplomat, her experiences with the aliens making her invaluable for these delicate negotiations. Permission granted, Captain. Escort them to Conference Bay Alpha. The meeting room had been specially modified to accommodate alien physiology, atmospheric controls for the Cytherian's aquatic nature, gravitational adjustment fields for the ancient observer's energy-based existence, and standard Earth environment for the humans. As Foster entered, she found herself face-to-face with beings that represented the highest levels of galactic civilization. Ambassador Seth Mirren floated gracefully in her containment field, her translucent form pulsing with gentle bioluminescence. Beside her, Elder Ithnara maintained a barely cohesive humanoid shape that seemed to shift between dimensions. Admiral Foster, Seth Mirren's harmonious voice filled the chamber. We come bearing an offer that has never before been extended to any species. Foster took her seat at the negotiating table, flanked by Dr. Vasquez and General Thompson. We're listening. Elder Ithnara's ancient voice resonated with authority. The Galactic Council formally invites humanity to join as a full member species with all rights and privileges thereof. No restrictions on expansion, no limitations on military development, and full access to galactic technology and trade networks. The humans exchanged glances. After months of siege mentality, the offer seemed almost too good to be true. What's the catch? Foster asked bluntly. Seth Mirren's form pulsed with what might have been amusement. Your species' directness is refreshing, Admiral. There is indeed a service we request in exchange. The holographic display activated, showing deep space images that made everyone in the room feel small. Massive structures moved between distant galaxies, geometric shapes that defied easy description, each one larger than star systems. The Devourers, Ithnara explained. They consume entire galaxies, converting all matter and energy into more of themselves. Our projections indicate they will reach the edge of our galaxy in approximately 500 years. Dr. Vasquez leaned forward, her scientific curiosity overriding diplomatic protocol. What exactly are they? Unknown, Ithnara admitted. They appear to be artificial constructs, but operated by some form of intelligence we cannot comprehend. They show no interest in communication or negotiation. They simply consume. General Thompson studied the images. And you want us to fight them? We want you to prepare us to fight them, Seth Mirren corrected. Admiral, your species possesses something that has been bred out of galactic civilization, the ability to think tactically under pressure, to adapt to impossible situations, and to make the hard choices that survival sometimes requires. Foster stood up and walked to the viewport, looking out at Earth hanging in space like a blue jewel. "You're asking us to become the galaxy's military. We are asking you to become the galaxy's teachers," Yethnara replied. 500 years is enough time to train entire species in the arts of war, to redesign our ships for combat rather than beauty, to prepare a civilization for its greatest test. And if we refuse? The chamber fell silent. Finally, Seth Mirren spoke. "Then in 500 years, the Devourers will arrive to find a galaxy full of peaceful prey, with no idea how to defend itself. The result will be the extinction of 47 civilizations." Foster turned back to face the aliens. "And if we accept? Then humanity becomes the apex predator of a galaxy full of willing allies," Yethnara said. "You will have the resources of 47 civilizations at your disposal, unlimited expansion rights, and the gratitude of every intelligent species in the galaxy." General Thompson raised a concern. "How do we know this isn't just a more sophisticated form of containment? Give us what we want now, then use us to fight your war?" Elder Ithnara's form shimmered with what might have been respect. "Because, General, predators cannot be controlled. They can only be allied with. We learned that lesson when your admiral defeated our containment fleet. Dr. Vasquez was studying the Devourer images. These constructs, they're using technologies we can't even identify. What makes you think human tactics will be effective against them?" "Because," Seth Moran replied, "every species they have encountered has been like us. Peaceful, civilized, incapable of true aggression. They have never faced a species that evolved specifically to hunt, kill, and survive. Their tactical algorithms are optimized for prey behavior." Foster considered the implications. Humanity would go from being a single-planet species to the military leaders of a galactic civilization. The responsibility was staggering, but so was the opportunity. "There's one more thing," she said finally. "If we do this, humanity doesn't just become your military advisors. We become full partners in galactic civilization. Equal voice in all decisions, not just military ones." "Agreed," both aliens said simultaneously. Foster looked at her colleagues, seeing the same mixture of excitement and apprehension in their faces. "We'll need time to discuss this with our governments." "Of course," Seth Moran replied. "But Admiral, while you deliberate, perhaps we could begin with smaller steps. Allow us to share some of our medical technology. Diseases that plague humanity could be eliminated within years. Our educational techniques could accelerate human development. Our manufacturing processes could end scarcity on your world." The temptation was obvious, and Foster realized it was also a test. The aliens were offering immediate benefits to demonstrate their good faith. "We can start with knowledge exchange," she agreed. "But any formal alliance will require approval from the United Earth government." Over the following weeks, the first tentative exchanges began. Human military advisors studied alien ship designs, identifying vulnerabilities and suggesting modifications. Alien scientists shared medical breakthroughs that promised to revolutionize human health. Engineers from both sides collaborated on hybrid technologies that combined human tactical thinking with alien sophistication. Captain Chen found herself at the center of these exchanges, translating not just languages but entire ways of thinking. She watched human Marines teaching alien crews how to move through a ship during combat, saw alien technicians showing human engineers how to manipulate matter at the molecular level. "It's working," she reported to Admiral Foster during one of their regular briefings. "The cultural barriers are breaking down. Both sides are starting to see the benefits of cooperation." Foster nodded, watching through the viewport as human and alien ships conducted joint training exercises. "Any word from the Council about timeline?" "The ancient observers have refined their calculations," Chen replied. "The Devourers are moving faster than originally projected. We have 420 years, not 500. It was still an enormous span of time by human standards, but Foster understood the implications. Transforming an entire galaxy's mindset from peaceful to martial would require generations of effort. "Then, we'd better get started," she said. That the formal alliance was signed 3 months later in a ceremony broadcast across 47 worlds. Humanity officially joined the Galactic Council as its youngest but most crucial member. The document established the Human Defense Initiative, placing Earth at the center of galactic military planning for the first time in cosmic history. As Foster watched the signing ceremony, she reflected on the remarkable journey that had brought them here. Humanity had left Earth seeking knowledge and exploration, only to discover they were destined to become the galaxy's protectors. The irony wasn't lost on her. The same predatory instincts that had initially terrified the galaxy might ultimately be what saved it. In the depths of space, monitoring stations turned their sensors toward the void between galaxies, watching for the first signs of approaching extinction. But for the first time in galactic history, the prey species felt ready for the hunt. Humanity had risen to take its place among the stars, not as conquerors, but as the deadly predators a peaceful galaxy needed to survive. The universe was about to learn what happens when predators and prey work together. And somewhere in the dark between galaxies, ancient constructs continued their inexorable advance, unaware that their next target had just acquired teeth.